ones here, all of them, these three here, they carry out autotrophic nutrition. All the three carry out autotrophic what? Nutrition. And we say now, these ones, when they are carrying out that form of nutrition, we said it involves an organism making its own, are you getting it? Complex organic matter from simple inorganic matter. And in this case, are you getting it? During that process of making the complex organic matter, these organisms require energy. And we said, basing on the source of energy utilized in making their own food, we said we can categorize them or we can divide them into two. That means autotrophic nutrition can be subdivided, that it has got two types of what? Nutrition, or it can be subdivided into two. And which are those two? We said the two are one, photosynthesis, and we said this one here, due to the fact it is called photosynthesis because it utilizes the sunlight energy. And that's why we have this word photo here, because it utilizes light. Photo just means light. Are you getting it? In making its own food, it utilizes light. But we say there are those ones, there are some organisms which cannot utilize light or which cannot absorb that light. For them, they go on to break down other complex chemical compounds in order to obtain the energy they will use in making their own food. For which reason we say these ones are said to carry out, or the process, that process of autotrophic nutrition will be called chemotherapies. The process of autotrophic nutrition will be called what? Chemotherapies. And there, if you are looking at chemotherapies, by the way, I will say all these ones here, for them, they are under this. Are you getting it? All the green plants, the algae, the photosynthetic bacteria, all of them, for them, they carry out photosynthesis. Now, when we talk about the chemotherapies, these ones we shall say, these ones are non-photosynthetic bacteria. Those are the ones which carry out what? Chemotherapies. So that is that. Then after looking at that, please, we are just doing what? I said we are just moving through so that we go to what we are covering. Now we said the other form of nutrition was heterotrophic. The other form of nutrition, we say it was heterotrophic. And if you could recall, I said organisms under this, we put there animals, all animals. Are you getting it? None of them goes on to be able to carry out what? Photosynthesis. No? All of them, for them, animals, they carry out heterotrophic what? Nutrition. Then we said also this group includes organisms under that kingdom fungi. I will give an example of mushrooms. I'll give an example of toadstools. We can say puffballs. We can say rhizopas. All those ones belong under that group. Then maybe also we need to include amongst those organisms which carry out heterotrophic nutrition, those ones which cannot manufacture their own food, we need also to include the parasitic plants. Also, those ones there, they belong under that group. We need to note that. They belong under that group. Also, these ones here, they cannot. Are you getting it? That means, and I said the other time, I gave a certain example, and I say, please, can you go and look out for this plant here? Are you getting it? It is a parasitic plant. It cannot manufacture its own food. So don't assume that all plants can manufacture. No, some cannot, some can. So this one here, for it cannot manufacture. So it belongs under the heterotrophic nutrition. Then we say the heterotrophic nutrition, there are different modes how organisms go on to obtain. Are you getting it? Goes on to differ. So we can say different types of heterotrophic what? Nutrition. And we said one of them was holozoic nutrition. One of them was holozoic nutrition. In which case we said, this one, by the way, I can say, I will not say all animals, but I can give, I can give an example of man, that we carry out holozoic what? Nutrition. And what does it involve, or what does this one mean? We said this is where an organism takes in the large, I use that word there, I said it should be large. This one we say it is insoluble. Are you getting it? And then also we use the word complex. Are you getting it? We use the word what? Complex. So large, insoluble, complex food substances are taken into the body. And when they are taken into the body, what happens to them? These ones are broken down within a specialized digestive system into small, that's what I've used. Then this one I will say soluble. And then the complex, I'll use the word simple. So we need to note that holozoic nutrition, this is a form of nutrition where an organism takes in large, insoluble, complex food substances, and these are broken down into small, soluble, simple. Are you getting it? Within a specialized digestive system. And we say this one here, it has got characteristic features. This one here, the holozoic nutrition, has characteristic features. That means, how can I put it? Like distinct steps. Are you getting it? Or maybe things which go on to occur. Are you getting it? During that type of nutrition. And we say one of them was ingestion, where I say ingestion is taking in. The act of taking in, if I get my cassava, if I get my whatever I want, any food, that act of putting it into the mouth is what we call ingestion. Then we said the other, after ingesting this food, what happens to the food? It is digested. So we look at, instead of using, I'll use the word digestion. Are you getting it? Eh? Because someone, if I put digested, someone will say, no, the other time you say digestion. Digestion, what does digestion mean? It means breaking down the large, insoluble, complex into the small, soluble, simple. That is what digestion means. We break down, digestion is the breakdown of food from the large, insoluble, complex to the small, soluble, simple. So that is what digestion is all about. Then it involves absorption. It involves absorption and assimilation. It involves absorption and assimilation. And please, excuse me, please, some individuals, can you mute yourself because you are interrupting? Now, I was saying it involves absorption, another feature, absorption and assimilation. And what do we mean by absorption? That means after breaking down these, after breaking down our food in a specialized digestive system, this food is meant to go to the cells. So the cells start taking in. The taking in of food from the digestive system by the cells is what we shall say that is what absorption is all about. The taking in, the process of taking in is absorption. Then assimilation, I will say, after the cells taking in this food, now how do they using it? What happens to the food after absorption is what we call assimilation. But I will just say it is the incorporation of the food into the life processes and within the structures of the what? The cells. So we shall look at it later on. Then lastly, the last feature we shall say there is something called egestion. And egestion, I said, that is, I would use defecation, but it will appear. So I will just say the removal of the undigested food. Egestion. This one is egestion. This one is egestion. And that is removal of undigested food. So that is now, those are the characteristic features of holozoic nutrition. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you need to note that. So if we say, can you list or state characteristic features of holozoic nutrition? Don't start thinking. Just say ingestion, digestion, absorption, assimilation, and digestion. So now we said, maybe before I can leave this here, before I leave holozoic nutrition, allow me to say this. Under holozoic nutrition, again, we can subdivide, we can classify the organisms depending on what makes up the largest part of their diet. We can again classify the organisms depending on what makes up the largest part of their diet. What makes up the largest part of their food? Because someone might say, what is diet? Diet, I think we are looking at what we are taking in. Are you getting it? So, what makes up the largest part of the food these organisms take in? Are you getting it? Now, we shall say, or we shall have the following. If the organism depends on the plant material, if the organism depends on the plant material, then we shall say, oh, it will be classified as a herbivore. If the organism depends on, if the organism depends on plant material, so please I'm putting that plant material. That one we need to note. That is the one which we shall call a herbivore. Are you getting it? We shall call it what? A herbivore. So, a herbivore is an organism. But the method or the group of, I don't know how I can put it, when we say herbivorous, are you getting it? So we can say a herbivorous organism. Are you getting it? A herbivorous organism, that is an organism whose diet is made up of plant material. Now, also we have other organisms that the largest part of what they take in is animal material. So I will say animal. So if it depends on other animals, that the largest part of their food is that, we shall say it is a carnivore. So we shall talk about what? A carnivorous organism. The one which goes on to eat other organism, or maybe I can say majorly made up of meat. Are you getting it? But I think the best is animals. Are you getting it? Then also we need to note the other. There are some organisms which go on that for them their diet is mixed up. Are you getting it? It is balanced. It is made up of plants and animal material. Both plants and animal material. In that case, that organism will be called omnivorous or omnivore. Because I'm looking at omnivore, please, this one's I'm looking at organism. But the process herbivorous, carnivorous, and then omnivorous. Are you getting it? Now, I think even the word omni, this one here, we use it even for God. You getting it? Where they talk about God being omnipotent. I don't know what it means by the way, but what I know, I think is everywhere. Are you getting it? So, omnivorous or omnivores, those are organisms which take in their diet is made up of both plants and animal material. Now, you can give examples by the way, but I will give only the example of this, where I'll give an example of there are two organisms which I know, but you will include if, for example, you find any other. And I will say man and the pig are the ones which I know that they are omnivorous. Are you getting it? Then here you can put the dog, you can put the cat, you can put the lion, and so on. Here you can put the cow, a goat, I don't know, a donkey, something of the sort, a horse. Those ones, you use those organisms which are common. So under this here, please, I'm saying under Holozoic nutrition, the organisms can be classified into herbivore, carnivore, and omnivore. That is under Holozoic nutrition. I'm getting it. They are taking in complex material and breaking it down in a specialized digestive system. But for these ones, plant material. For these ones, animal, and for this one, both animal and plant material. That one you need to what to note that. Now I'm going to another. I'm getting because we said there are different forms of nutrition and heterotrophic, or different modes, or different ways through which organisms obtain the food. Are you getting it? All of them, they don't obtain it in the same way. Though they are taking in complex already made, but they take it in through different ways. So one of them we say it is a holozoic. Then the other, if we could recall, we say there is something called saprotrophic. Saprotrophic. But we said, please, saprotrophic, it is still the same as saprophytic. Are you getting it? Because someone can say, for you are using that. What about, are you getting it? It is still the same. You can use saprophytic or you can use saprotrophic. Though, currently, this one is better than this. Are you getting it? This one is better than the saprophytic. Now, we say these are organisms which depend on dead, decaying organic matter. And I can give an example of the rhizopus, which is a fungi. I can give an example of rhizopus, which is a fungi. If someone asks what is a rhizopus, because someone might not be knowing what a rhizopus is, or what molds are you getting it? I'm using this word here, rhizopus, or sometimes we use this word, molds. Now, it is time for COVID. I will not tell you to waste, because I would have told you to waste. That would have been the best way out. But when after peeling, like the banana peels, are you getting it? I'm assuming that you have ever seen these banana peels. Eh? Now, when they are left there for some time, like 2 days, actually 2 days, I think you will be able to see. Just get one of them. You don't need to get many of them. You will see some structures which will be growing on this, and they are black in color. There are some thread-like structures which we see on these banana peels. Or if not that, if, for example, bread goes bad, I don't know if it goes bad, I don't know, but if bread goes bad, you will see some structures which will be growing. Always we use the word bread molds. That's what we are using. Please, that is a fungi. And by that time, get to understand that the bread will be an organic matter which will be decomposing. So what will happen? These organisms here will be feeding on that. So that's why we are saying that saprotrophic nutrition, organisms take in dead, decaying, or depend on dead, decaying organic matter. And those are the ones which we can call saprotrophs. Those are the organisms. You getting it? So if I remove IC and I add the S, I'll be talking about what? The organism. So that one we can say also that is another. Then we see we had also, I'll use the word symbiosis. And we said for symbiosis, now for these organisms, in taking in their food, they form association. Or for them to be able to obtain, they have to form associations with other organisms. And we say the word symbiosis means an intimate association between organisms of different species. An intimate association between organisms of different species. This can be that in this association, an organism obtains food. An organism obtains food from another organism it is forming the association with. Are you getting it? But in obtaining the food, it causes harm to the other organism from which it is obtaining the food. For which reason, that there will be called parasitism. That association, that form of nutrition, we shall call it what? Parasitism. And we are saying parasitism, an association, a nutritional association between two organisms of different species, where one obtains food and causes harm, while the other doesn't benefit anything. We should note that. Are you getting it? Where one obtains food, that is the parasite. Are you getting it? And it causes harm to the other from which it is obtaining the food, which is the what? The host. Then we say there is also something called mutualism. And I said in mutualism, both organisms benefit. A nutritional association where both organisms benefit. That means there is a give and take. And I gave an example of the nitrogen fixing bacteria in the root nodules of the leguminous plants. That for the nitrogen fixing bacteria, it utilizes the nitrogen, the nitrogen gas, and it converts it into nitrates. It converts it into nitrates. These nitrates are utilized by the plant to make its own proteins. These nitrates are utilized by the plants to make its own proteins. Now, but we need to remember that the plant is manufacturing its own food. And as it is manufacturing the food, it cannot utilize all that food. So what happens? The bacteria obtains food from the what? Obtains the organic matter, or obtains its food from the plant. So what does that mean? That the bacteria is giving nitrates to the plant as the plant is giving food to the bacteria. So in both cases, here both of them are doing what? Are benefiting. Then maybe, what can I give? Also maybe I will give this. This nutrition association can fall both sides, as what we shall see. Do you remember that I talked about something, a white bird called an egret? At one point, I talked about it last time. And I said, an egret, always we find it with the grazing organisms, like cows, the buffalo, and so on. Now, this organism, when the cow is feeding, are you getting it? It goes on to open up the ground, because it goes on to expose maybe the worms in the soil. And so the egret comes and eats the worm. Now, this egret at one time, it can also eat a tick on the cow. I'm assuming that people know a tick. What we call a quack in Uganda, I think, in vernacular. I don't know how it is called in some other languages. But it is a parasitic organism which is found on these organisms, on the cow. Now, if the egret eats the tick from the cow, now actually the egret will be helping the cow because it is removing a what? A parasite. So what does that mean? It is becoming what? Mutualism. Are you getting it? The cow exposes the worms which this goes on to eat. That means the egret is benefiting. Then the egret eats a tick on the cow. Also, the egret is still doing what? Benefiting because it's getting food. But also the cow is relieved of a parasite. So in that case, it becomes mutualism. That means I'm benefiting, both organisms are benefiting from this one association. But also, assuming that I stop it at this, that the cow, as it is eating the grasses, it exposes the worms. And the egret eats the what? The worms. In that case, if we end it at that point, is the cow benefiting? No, the cow is not benefiting. There it becomes what we call commensalism. It becomes what we call what? Commensalism. Where one organism benefits, the other neither does it benefit, nor is it harmed. We need to understand here. Are you getting it? Commensalism. One organism benefits, the other neither does it benefit, nor is it harmed. That is what we need to know. Are you getting it? That means one benefits, the other does not benefit, but it is not harmed. Mutualism, both of them are benefiting. Parasitism, one benefits, the other is harmed. All those ones there, please, all these ones here, they form what we call symbiosis. Please, I want you to note that in some books, old books, if I can use that word, are you getting it? Or earlier books, are you getting it? They will say symbiosis is the same as what? Mutualism. I'm saying, please, they are not the what? The same. Symbiosis just means an interaction between organisms of different species, which can either be parasitic, mutualistic, or does that make sense? I can see a hand, Nantaba, I think.
So we are not understanding.
Yes.
You are not understanding. Now, the
Yeah.
problem is,
Now, the symbiosis relationship.
the problem is, and we should understand this. Are you getting it? And I pray. You and who? Because I asked Nantaba, and Nantaba is saying we. With who? Are you getting it? Let us learn to say, I'm not understanding, but don't say we are not. Are you getting it? Don't include another individual. And then another thing where we need to be serious. Are you getting it? Just say, I'm not understanding this. But there are very many things. So now I don't know. Are you getting it? And we started from the word nutrition. So whoever has just joined in between, are you getting it? There, please, you might not actually understand because we need to note the lesson begins at 9 a.m. So if you come in between, definitely you will not understand because you will be catching us at a stage where you don't know how did we begin. So you need to be very, very patient. Are you getting it? Nantava, you need to be very patient and to be specific.
I was asking.
Now start.
What's the difference between mutualism and commensalism?
Now, who has understood what is the difference between mutualism and commensalism? Someone who has understood that. I can see. Nabweteme, are you asking or you are answering?
I understood commensalism and mutualism.
Yeah, now please, can you give her the difference?
Like mutualism is like when both species benefit and no harm is caused. And commensalism, when one species benefits and the other one doesn't, but again no harm is caused.
That is very good and excellent. Lisa? Lisa, I can see your hand.
I was going to say the same thing.
Okay, thank you so much. Now, we proceed. Are you getting it? We do what? We proceed. There, what we are looking at, under that, we say we are looking at the different ways through which organisms obtain food under heterotrophic what? Or the different types of nutrition or modes of nutrition. Are you getting it? Under heterotrophic nutrition. And we said these different modes or types, we said we have holozoic, the first one. Then we said we have saprotrophic, and then we said we have also the symbiosis. Now, the symbiosis, sometimes I will just say, to make it simple, I would say we have holozoic, then saprotrophic, parasitism, mutualism, and commensalism. Let me assume that people will understand that. Are you getting it? I'm saying the different types of nutrition under heterotrophic nutrition, or the different modes of nutrition under heterotrophic. We have holozoic as one. 2, saprotrophic. 3, we have parasitism. Then 4, we have mutualism. And then 5, we have commensalism. Does that make sense? Are you getting it? Because symbiosis is not a word. It is not a mode of nutrition. It is not a way of how, it is not a nutritional association. Are you getting it? For symbiosis, it just means what? It is just a general thing to mean an interaction. Are you getting it? And that interaction can be, are you getting it? Either for shelter, it can be for very many other things. That's why I was saying that parasitism, a nutritional association. Are you getting it? Mutualism, a nutritional. I'm putting there the word nutrition to show that a way in which an organism goes on to what? To obtain what? Food. Now, under nutrition, I will say that we are looking at how organisms obtain food. We are looking at how organisms obtain food. And sometimes actually, I don't know, but I think I can, let me ask, or you will give me the answer next time. What if someone asks you, what is meant by food? So someone can give you such. I think we have never thought about it. Also myself, I have never thought about it. But what if someone says, what is meant by food? It is something today let me ask this. I have never, what is meant by food? You find that on the paper. I can see, Vivian, I can see your hand is up.
Food is something good.
Something.
Eat or
You are breaking.
good to eat or drink.
Something good to eat or drink. Okay. Good.
Yes.
Eat or drink. Thank you so much, by the way. Any other I can see? Raihana, I can see your hand. Babidi. As you are not saying anything. Your network is poor.
Anything good for eating and drinking.
Something good for eating and drinking.
Is anything good for
Josephine, I can see your hand still up.
food? Is anything to eat and drink.
Anything to eat and drink. For you, you have just removed the word good. Eh? Anything to eat and drink. Okay. I can see Josephine, your hand is still up.
Please, no.
Post network. Nancy.
Food is something good to eat or drink for its nutritional value.
You have added there something actually. Are you getting it? Anything good to eat or drink for its nutritional value. That is something very, very good for its nutritional value. Now, I think if we use this, anything good to eat or drink will be food. But if I add there, because definitely it shouldn't be, it might be good to eat or to drink, but without any benefit. I'm getting it. Without any benefit at all. That means it will not have served our purpose when we are defining what nutrition is at the beginning. Are you getting it? That means you wouldn't have served the purpose. Are you getting it? Assuming that now, for example, I can have a pepper. Are you getting it? There is nothing bad about eating a pepper if I haven't picked it from the dustbin. Are you getting it? I can eat my pepper. There is no problem with it. But will it be food? That's the question. Are you getting it? Some people, you can find them eating chalk. Even there are those ones who go on to eat the lids of the pen. Is it something? It is good to eat it. There is nothing bad with it. Are you getting it? But does it actually serve the purpose of nutrition? So anything to be called food should be able to serve this. Anything to be called food, it should be able to serve that. That means it should possess a nutritional value. Are you getting it? It should possess a nutritional value. So that is now what food is all about. Now, I would say we have got different categories or different classes of food. We have got different categories or different classes of food. We have got something, what we shall say, food can be subdivided into the following major categories. Now, these categories are the following. 1, carbohydrates. The different classes, we shall say, one of them, carbohydrates. Then another form or category, we shall talk about something called lipids. Then another category, we shall talk about proteins. Then we shall have something called vitamins. Then we shall have something called water. Now, someone might say, also water is part. Yeah, water is part. Then we have mineral salts. And then lastly, there is a group which is very, actually, I don't know, most of us actually, we neglect it. Are you getting it? And that is when they talk about, I don't know, is this written like this? Roughages. So, those are the different categories or forms of food. Are you getting it? Or classes of food. I think, let me say, forms or classes of what? Food. We have carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, vitamins, then water, mineral salts, and then the what? The refugees. Those are the different forms or different categories or classes. Now, we are going to, from now up to maybe, I don't know when, we are going to be looking at these forms of what? Food. We go ahead to describe them in general, what actually they are made up of, and so on and so on. But we can even classify them depending on their uses or their roles or their functions. Are you getting it? Like, for example, there are those ones whereby for them we shall say they are energy-giving foods. That means we obtain energy from them. And I have put them very close to one another. So they can say, we can classify food depending on the roles. Are you getting it? Where we shall say energy-giving foods, carbohydrates, lipids. Are you getting it? Now, you shouldn't be worried. For some people, maybe someone might be there saying, oh, what are lipids? We shall see what lipids are. Are you getting it? So don't mind about that. Then we have those ones which we can say they are bodybuilding. There are those ones which are bodybuilding. And I think, I don't know, you'll be the ones to tell me what I know. Actually, proteins are the ones which are what? Bodybuilding. Then there are those ones which are majorly, we can look at them from the point of protecting the body. Are you getting? For protection of the body against infections and then things like diseases and so on. And majorly, those ones I will say, I'll pick this here, I'm putting just a star, and then this here. I don't know where, by the way, water belongs. And the other refuges, please don't ask me where they belong. I don't know also. You will be the ones to tell me where do they belong. Are you getting it? Because I said energy giving, bodybuilding, then protection, then I'm remaining with water and what? And refuges. There I'm trapped. I don't know. Where do they belong? Water and refuges. Maybe, I don't know. I can see Agatha's hand up. You are telling me where they belong, eh?
Up.
You are telling me what, Agatha?
I forgot my hand up.
Hey, you forgot, eh? Thank God. Now, let us do this. Please don't read a book and you put up your hand. Are you getting it? Don't read a book and you put up your hand. We are not at a competition of reading and telling us what you are reading. Thank you so much. Lukwaga, I can see your hand up. We want, please, we are in a learning process. We want what is in our heads, not what is written in the books for the purpose of learning. Chirabo, I can see your hand up.
Water and refugees.
Where do they belong?
They help in digestion, but I don't know where they belong.
You don't know where they belong, but they help in digestion. They might not belong anywhere, by the way, but it can belong somewhere. They have to be belonging somewhere. Are you getting it? Majorly, maybe I can look at effectiveness in the life processes. Are you getting it? These ones help in different life processes. That's how I can put it. Not under, I will put them under maybe building or put them under, is it energy? Are you getting it? I might not put them under that, but they help in, are you getting it? Or they go on to aid in the running of that different life processes. And that's where we shall require them. Are you getting in it? But not in building or in defending the what? The body. Now, after looking at that, are you getting it? Majorly, they can ask you for the importances. Are you getting it? The importances of food. Please, can you go ahead and read about them? What are the importances of what? Food. Now, I will start with the first form of what? Or the first class of food. And the first class which we talked about, that is the carbohydrates. That is the first form of, or the first class which we need to do what? To look at. Now, this here, I can say carbohydrates, as what we've said, one, they are energy-giving foods. Carbohydrates, these are chemical compounds. This is a complex, I will use, I'll say, this is a complex organic chemical compound. Now, the part of the chemistry, I will not go into it. Are you getting it? The part of the chemistry, I might not go into it. So I'm not going to ask you, what is a compound? No, I will not ask you for that. And this one here is made up of the following elements. Carbohydrates, they are made up of the following elements. Carbon as one of the elements. Then that is very good. Hydrogen.
Oxygen.
So those are the elements which make up what we call carbohydrates. Now, this one here, I would say that the general formula of this, of a carbohydrate, but you don't need to think so much about it. Are you getting it? The general formula, I will just say, I'll have that. Then I'll put there that, and then I'll put there that. But you don't need to think about it so much. Are you getting it? Whereby X and Y can be any
So
number.
what's the X and Y?
Now, you know, don't move at the speed of light. Please move at my speed. Don't move at the speed of what? Light. I'm still talking, and someone asks me, what is this? Because I haven't. I said X and Y can be any number. Getting it? X and Y can be any number. But at your level, I might not go into those numbers. Yeah, I'm getting it. I'll go into the numbers when I start looking at the categories of what? The categories of the different carbohydrates. Are you getting it? What I wanted was majorly to see that if, for example, you find me writing this, someone shouldn't get confused. Are you getting it? It is coming from somewhere where now that means my X will be 6. Does that make sense? Eh? And then my Y will be what? 6. Is it okay? Where my X here, X is equal to 6, and then also the Y is equal to 6. So when I multiply, that means I just put the 6 here, I replace, are you getting it? Substitute 6. Then if this one is equal to 6, that means this time was the 2, I get the 12. Are you getting it? Then this, I'll get the 1, the 6, so that I come up to this. Are you getting it? And someone, I don't want someone to ask at a later stage. Are you getting it? That is very good. At a later stage, you might come in and you say, this is glucose, and someone says, how have you reached that point? Are you getting it? So that's why I said, let me give the general formula. Are you getting it? Where X and Y can be any number. Are you getting it? Where X and Y can be any number. That is, and we are saying, please, they are made up of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Now, there is something I want, maybe I will say, why are they called hydrates? Are you getting it? It is due to this, that the ratio of hydrogen to oxygen is the same as that of what? Water. Are you getting it? The ratio of this, if people know what water is, I'm assuming that the chemical thing, it is 2 hydrogen atoms, 1 oxygen atom. That is my little chemistry I can recall. Are you getting it? And also we are saying that here it is still the same. So that's why they are called what? Hydrates of what? Carbon. That's why they are called hydrates of carbon. Now, that is that. Then I will say that carbohydrates, these ones here, they are subdivided into the following. Carbohydrates are subdivided into the following. Depending, are you getting it? Depending on the number of sugars which make up that carbohydrate. Depending on the number of sugars, carbohydrates can be subdivided into the following. 1, monosaccharides. Monosaccharides. Now, I want us to note
You're not here.
We can't hear.
So I was saying carbohydrates can be subdivided into the following. Monosaccharide. Now, this word here, saccharide, just means sugar. So if I say a carbohydrate is a sugar, please don't go ahead to say now what is this saying. Are you getting it? Now, saccharide just means sugar. That means if I use the word mono, what does that mean? It means 1. Mono just means what? 1. So what does that mean? It is a carbohydrate which is made up of only 1 sugar. It is a carbohydrate which is made up of only 1 sugar. Then also we can have something which we shall say disaccharide. We shall talk about disaccharide. Remember I said these are categorized depending on the number of sugars. Are you getting it? Now, when you say di, that means you are looking at what? 2. So what does that mean? 2 sugars. 2 sugar molecules. Are you getting it? 2 sugar molecules make up a disaccharide. Then the other one we shall say is called a polysaccharide. So they are divided into those 3. Poly means many sugars. So it is a molecule which is made up of very many sugars. So carbohydrates are categorized into the following 3, depending on the number of sugar units which make up that carbohydrate, or which make up that what? Complex structure, or maybe which makes up that structure or substance. If it is only 1 sugar, then we shall refer to it as being monosaccharide. If there are 2 sugar units which make up that carbohydrate, please, it is called a disaccharide. If it is made up of many sugar units, please, it is called a polysaccharide. So those are the 3 categories or 3 types of carbohydrates. Let me assure you that up to that level, we are still together. Are you getting it? Up to that level, let me assure you we are still what? Together. Different forms of carbohydrates, depending on the sugar units, monosaccharide, disaccharides, polysaccharides. Now, monosaccharides, if I look at monosaccharides, I have said that monosaccharides, these ones are made up of only 1 sugar unit. These are made up of only 1 sugar unit. Sometimes we shall refer to them as being simple sugars. Please note that word. Are you getting it? I have said these monosaccharides are made up of only one sugar unit, and they can be referred to as simple sugars. That is one thing which you need to know. Monosaccharides, these ones have the following general formula. These ones have the following general formula. It is CH2O. I will put N at the side there. That is their general formula. And N can be equal to 3 to 9. Are you getting it? N can be 3 to 9. That means it can either be, N can be equal to 3, or be equal to 4, or equal to 5, or to 6, or to 7, or to 8, or to 9. Are you getting it? In which case, even we shall name them. Are you getting it? We shall name these ones we need to note. Are you getting it? We name them by adding a suffix OSE. We name them by adding that OSE. Are you getting it? To the number. Are you getting it? I add OSE to the number. Like, for example, if I say N is equal to 3, that means this one will be 3, then this one will be 6, and then this one will be 3. I'm assuming that people can understand that. I'm just substituting. And that means how many carbons
Teacher,
do we
please
have?
explain again.
We are not understanding.
Teacher, you're moving
We are
very
not
fast. We don't get the
understanding.
meaning.
I'm moving very fast. Okay, now let
You're
me try
too
to move very
fast,
slowly.
teacher. Please.
Let me try to move very slowly. I have seen monosaccharides. Are you getting it? It is a form of carbohydrate made up of only one sugar. Should I use this one? Made up of one sugar. And I said it is coming from the word, because we said this one, saccharide from Latin, are you getting it? Just means sugar. And mono means one. So I said this form of carbohydrate is made up of only one sugar unit. Are you getting it? It is made up of only one sugar unit. And I said also, instead of calling it a monosaccharide, sometimes we can call it a simple sugar. Sometimes we can just call it what? A simple sugar. And then I said, are you getting it? Monosaccharides have the following, maybe let me use, have the following characteristic features. Are you getting it? Maybe if I can use that. I said, monosaccharides, are you getting it? Have this general formula. General formula. Now, this one, please, you go to chemistry. Don't ask me very many things about chemistry. Are you getting it? The general formula, that means the chemical formula. Should I use that word? Monosaccharides have the following general chemical formula. Remember, we said they're made up of carbon. I'm assuming that every person remembers that. We said they're made up of hydrogen, but I said hydrogen in this case, when we look at the ratio of the number of hydrogen atoms and oxygen atoms, they are similar to those of water. That's why you see that I said H2 and then I put the other O. Are you getting it? And this one here, I put it in brackets. Are you getting it? And then I put N, where I said N is any number from what? From 3 to 9. Are you getting it? Where N can be either 3, it can be 4, it can be 5, it can be 6, it can be 7, it can be 8, or it can be 9. But it doesn't exceed that. Are you getting it? That is what we need to know. That it doesn't exceed 9 and it doesn't go below 3. Are you getting it? So meaning that N cannot be 2 or it cannot be 1. Does that make sense? Now I said assuming that n is equal to 3. Are you getting it? Assuming that n is equal to 3. That means I'll say if n is equal to 3, we are going to multiply with 3 throughout. Are you getting it? Does that make sense? We are multiplying. That means it is the one outside the brackets now. I don't know if someone can understand that. It is outside the brackets. So anything outside the brackets, we just do what? Multiply it mathematically, isn't it? Something of the sort. So now, if we are multiplying, I'm getting that it is n is equal to 3. That means this one here, carbon will be carbon 3. Are you getting it? So that means those are 3 carbon atoms. If I go to the chemistry, then 3 times, because these ones are 2 hydrogen. So when I multiply times 3, that means my hydrogen becomes what? 6. Are you getting it? Then this one here, I have 1. By the way, someone should understand in the chemistry, though we haven't put there anything, just get to understand it is 1 atom. 1 atom. So if I multiply, that means oxygen will become also what? 3, isn't it? Now, we can name this here, this substance. Are you getting it? Depending on the number of these carbons here, are you getting it? We shall name this depending on the number of what? Carbons. So how many carbons do we have? Carbon atoms. We have 3 carbon what? Atoms. So that means mathematically that one is called what? We have 3. Are you getting it? Mathematically, we shall be referring to it as what? I think you have ever heard of this something called tri. Are you getting it? Mathematically, to mean 3. Remember, we are mono, di, then that means from di there we went to poly. Are you getting it? This time I'm using this. Now I say these ones, when they are being named, we name them by adding suffix OSE at the end. Are you getting it? We name them, are you getting it? Naming by adding suffix. Now, suffix, you go to English, are you getting it? OSE at the end. So, if I have a tri, what do I add? What will I have? Someone who can pronounce that? A tribes. That is very good. Now, if, for example, I'm going to skip, are you getting it? Assuming that n is equal to 6. I'm assuming that someone now understands n is equal to 6. Is it that, right? Mathematically, how many? These ones here. What name shall we give? If we have 6 carbon atoms.
Hexa.
That is very good. Someone has used. Now, someone is saying poly. I don't know, but I'll have something called what? Hexos. Coming from hexa, which is what? The 6. Are you getting it? Even I can have pentos, I can have very many others. But I just wanted to use it to show. Are you getting how we name? Does that make sense? We name by adding suffix OSE. And we name these ones, these monosaccharides, depending on the number of what? Carbons. Are you getting it? We name them depending on the number of what? Carbons. Now, I will say this. Though I said that it can be, n can be equal to 3 to 9. Are you getting it? I said it can be equal to 3 to 9. We should not. The most, are you getting it? The most common monosaccharide. The most common monosaccharide or monosaccharides are hexose. The most common, are you getting? Naturally existing, if I can add that word there. Are you getting? The most common, naturally existing monosaccharides are the hexose. And this is the general formula of hexose. Please, I'm getting it. I want people. Someone told me to do what? To be slow. Yeah. Now I'm slow by the way. I should say that the most common of all of them. I'm getting it. That means n should be equal to what? To 6. Are you getting it? And I said the most common ones are the ones which we call the what? The hexose. And these include the following. And these include the what? The following. 1. They include glucose. I think you can see the suffix OSE. They include fructose. I think we can see that suffix. They include galactose. Now, there are others, but I might not talk about them. So don't ask me, because if I put them there, someone will ask me, Auntie, what are those ones? No. The most commonly existing, are you getting it? The glucose, the fructose, and the galactose. Those are the most commonly existing monosaccharides. I'm not saying that there are no other monosaccharides. They are there, are you getting it? Under the triose, under the pentose, under the water. But the hexose are the most commonly existing monosaccharides. For example, glucose, fructose, and galactose. Now, all monosaccharides, please, this one I'm saying all, I'm not saying this. Are you getting it? So the general formula of glucose, please, it is this. They have the same general formula. So don't ask, are you getting it? Fructose, it is this. Galactose, it is that. Are you getting it? Because all of them are hexose. But now what I'm looking at this. These ones, now I'm through with that. I'm looking at characteristic, and that is where I will end. Characteristic features of monosaccharides, or characteristics of monosaccharides. I might remove this because someone, again, I can remove that. And I said characteristics of monosaccharides. 1, all monosaccharides are sweet. They have a sweet taste. All monosaccharides have a sweet taste. So wherever they are found, in everything you put them, for them, they will give you that sweet what? Taste. And what you can do, if you can get a chance, test glucose. Are you getting it? Just test what? Glucose. And definitely, you can find glucose. There is one which is prepared, but naturally, you can get germinating seeds, maize seeds. They contain that glucose. Berry seeds also, they contain that glucose. And I don't know, many others. Then for fructose, majorly I would say sugar cane. That's where we can find it. And then galactose, we can find it in milk. Now, other than having a sweet taste, not the taste of doing exams, no, that one on the tongue. These ones here are very soluble in water. You getting it? They are very soluble. Actually, let me put that. They are very soluble. Or if I don't use the word very, I'll use the word readily soluble. Are you getting it? Other characteristic of monosaccharides. Then another characteristic of monosaccharides, we should note. These ones here, they form crystals. They form crystals. Are you getting it? They form crystals. They form crystals. Are you getting it? That is the other thing which we need to note about them. And then also another thing which we need to note about them, these can pass through selectively permeable membranes. These can pass through selectively permeable membranes. pass through selectively permeable membranes. That is another thing which we need to note about them. And when we say selectively permeable membranes, those are membranes which can allow some things to move through while retaining other things. Like, for example, the cell membrane. It does not allow everything to just go ahead to what? To pass through. So the cell membrane is selectively permeable. It can retain some things, but others can move through. Then lastly, maybe what I can say about the characteristics of monosaccharides, I would say all of them are reducing. All of them are reducing sugars. Reducing sugars. And what I mean by that is that when you add them to other compounds, they go on to, all these are involved in a reduction.
Stop making noise.
Pardon?
I was saying, when you go on to heat them or to add them onto other complex chemical compounds, they reduce those compounds. And always in the lab, we use something called copper to sulfate.
Because I can't bring it back to my
Solution. And when you add them to this copper to sulfate, they reduce it to copper 1 oxide, which has a different color. So that is now the chemical. So,
people, please mute me.
Pardon?
Oh, I'm on chapter 100, like 18.
There's some guys
With Jimmy, shut up.
in class.
now, I was saying the characteristics we have, one, these ones are sweet, they have a sweet taste. These ones are readily soluble in water. Then they form crystals. Are you getting it? And these ones we said they pass through selectively permeable membranes. And then lastly, we said all of them are reducing sugars. That when you add them onto other compounds, they reduce those compounds, those chemical compounds. So that is if we are looking at monosaccharides. We shall end there for today, and next time we shall start with disaccharides. Have a nice day.
People, please.
Thank you, teacher.
Thank you, teacher.
Thank you, teacher.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
Abila.
For teaching. Pamela.
Yes.
Thank you, teacher.
Pamela Bam.
May God bless you.
Pamela, the short one.
Put your best on.
Thank you, teacher.
What's the son? English.
Can't wait to see a bit.
Nisha, what's the next lesson?
Nice time.
Yeah, which teacher is coming next?
English.
Which teacher? English.
The other one that's quoted.
It's